Look at these cards. Worthless. Today we get some exciting news. So let's take a look here. So with the release of the new pack Dreamlike Oceans, or March 27th, we get a new ban list. So let's take a look at it here. We get 3 cards being banned and 1 being restricted. 1, Tiro. This one, we're going to talk about these. Let's just go over the cards first. So we got Tiro being banned, the Opus 11 one, the Opus 11 Realm, Opus 16 Atomos, and then limited to 1 per deck, we've got good old Refia here. So, before I give my opinions on it, let's just go over the reasonings here. So we'll start. We got Tiro banned. Card's consistently high usage rate with its EX burst, plus its versatility in generating CP for all elements. I don't know how I feel about a Tiro ban. I think it's really interesting, especially with this line here, like a deck building begins with including 3 copies of this card. I think a lot of people have actually been cutting down on Tiros. You kind of see it going sometimes to 2 in a deck due to deck constraints and whatnot. I see this as like a little bit of a balancing thing, I guess, where it's kind of like, all right, we took these things out. We also should lump something like Tiro in there. Yeah, this one I'm unsure about, but let's go over some of the others too. We have Realm. All right. I have been talking about a Realm ban for a very long time. I am surprised it's taken this long. So the restriction here, although there's a cost restriction, as the card pool expands, the options for monsters that can be searched have increased, and the card has become increasingly prominent in the environment. This could be bold text, taking account its current strength and future concern about game balance. Yes, I think this is a long time coming. I unfortunately think it is needed. I think it is slightly can be restricting the card design of 2 cost and 1 cost monsters. I remember an event. I remember an event. It was the Kansas Materia Cup last season during Uniformat. And I remember watching a game. It was on stream where the other player had Una on board with their forwards, and the monsters player on the other side played a realm. It got taxed into oblivion. They paid 11 CP for their first realm, and they won the game. I think if this card would still feel okay at 11 CP, that was the day I was like, starting to think we should look at this card a little bit. Next, the last card that is banned here is Atomos, Opus 16 Atomos. So the card allows you to easily activate a backup each turn, providing unexpected development potential in a variety of decks, not just decks like Wind that rely on cast counts. Atomos is a weird one. I kind of figured with Realm gone, I didn't fully feel like we needed to ban Atomos, because part of the annoying thing about Atomos was that it was being played in, decks that don't even play Wind, just because Realm can cheat it out. So with Realm gone, you have to play it in a Wind deck. And it's not like banning Atomos is going to stop, like, quote unquote toxic play patterns, like, 37 casts a turn. I'll put that in quotes because that's really up, that's subjective, but still. So I find it almost interesting, but I was talking to a friend about it, and they were like, you know what, this is probably one of those cards where we don't see it now, but they might have something in the pipeline where in 1 to 2 sets we're like, I'm really glad Atomos was banned, so I could see that very much. And our final card to talk about here on the limited, you can have 1 per deck, is Refia. I think we're going back to the we don't like to ban legends kind of thing. I don't think Cecil fully opened that door yet, but Opus 19 Refia. This card is a central part of the long-standing Warrior of Light deck. To encourage deck diversification in the environment, we will restrict Refia, which exerts great dominance on the field, to 1 copy. It's another thing that I've been saying for a long time, that like This one's been tough for me because I've been saying for a long time, I think something needs done about Warriors of Light, but I really wasn't sure what, you know, uh, without, just saying, all right, ban ref, yeah, the deck's blown up into existence. I still think the deck might just blow up into the sun, but I think you'll still see people brewing it even with one Refia. It just is going to make the deck a lot more fragile. You get that one Refia out of the game, and you are in a good spot. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this goes because it's always been one of those discussions where it's like, do you get rid of the four cost warrior light? Do you get rid of Refia? Half the deck is backbone is EX bursts. I always, have a friend of my locals. We always joke, and I agree with him that Warriors of Light is a deck that just gets elevated by playing 30 EX bursts in it. Restricting Refia the one, I like this decision because I think it doesn't blow the deck up into the sun. It just gives it enough of a hit that it's like, slow down a little bit. If you've been paying attention to the competitive season right now, it might be obvious to you. But, you know, why did we feel some of these cards really need a hit? Where was the outcry on specifically Monsters and Warriors of Light, really? Taking a look at some, let's just take a little deep dive. Let's just take a little dive here for a second into some of the recent competitive events. I'm going to pull up the Winter Cup here. This is the event that just happened recently. Very large event. 125 players for Fantasy TCG. We're cooking at 125 players. And of our top 8 decks here, 5 of these, while maybe they're not fully trying to backbone off of Refia, 5 of the Refia realm, 5 of these are realm decks. Like, we've got a Water Lightning Monsters deck here at number 2. We've got a Water Lightning Monsters here deck at number 3. We've got Mono Water with Realm and Monsters number 4. This is a very, very, very cool Dancers deck. I love Snugsy's Dancers deck. If you've never really seen this deck, it's awesome. And it's only 2 copies, but we're running Realm. We're running Atomos. We're running the Blue Worm Malboro. I'm kind of like, we're still doing the thing, right? Even if it is not the core purpose of the deck, it is still a thing. Taking a look also, we know that last year for the World Championship, we saw Warriors of Light, Waterfire Monsters take it. We got a cool reprint of a deck for it, the World's decks. And those things have been fantastic. I think that is just one of the best things they could have done for the game. I know so many people that have started playing the game solely on those Worlds decks, and I think that's super duper cool. What did we have this year at Worlds? Oh, we have Warriors of Light. Look at that. Refia, there she is. And what's different? What's different in this deck? That's Cryo. That's it. That's the only new card in this deck. Just this Cryo. But it's okay. It's okay. We got deck 2. What's deck 2? It's Monsters. It's Monsters. What new cards? We got Schultz. And that's it. We got Schultz. So, and that's kind of, I think, something where I think that's, especially if you want to take a look at it objectively, I do think we've had a really healthy meta. I think it's been very fun playing in these formats. I think it's been very wide. There's a lot of availability on what decks you can play. But I think when you see, while not directly the same 2 decks, this is Mono Water Monsters versus Water Fire Monsters. When you see the same 2 decks essentially win Worlds 2 times in a row, I think there's a world we were on track for 3 in a row. And even from a business standpoint, we need to, from Hobby Japan Square standpoint, we need to be selling new cards. Clearly, the new cards are not getting there. And even we need to sell a new Worlds deck. And we can't make a new Worlds deck because we would just be printing the same deck again. I've seen a lot of kind of disappointment of a lot of people that have been playing the Worlds deck being like, oh, well, now I can't play the Worlds deck. It would have been nice for us to have two new decks win Worlds that we could have printed another Worlds deck to keep that momentum going. And I think it is kind of a problem that has been snowballing and just it needed to be answered at some point. So I think the other thing you have to take into mind is I guess for lack of a better word, like the staleness of the meta. I think while that we have seen some stuff start to kind of pop up here and there, um, it's still I think a lot of people are tired of playing against the Warriors of Light. They're tired of playing against the monsters decks. And now there's other things in there that people might start being tired of Warriors decks. Well, 7 decks. We're gonna get to that here in a second. But I think a lot of people are tired of seeing some of these decks in the top, and it's kind of like I get it, but it's also when you have the same deck winning the events for year after year after year after year, um, and it kind of just feels like this gatekeeper of other decks. You kind of start to be like, like at some point you're gonna start discourage. It's while it's healthy at the top of the top highest, sweatiest level, below that you're going to have discouragement of the player base and ultimately going to be hard to gain traction and gain new players when the existing players are like, yeah, there's nothing new, you just got to play this deck that's been around for like 4 years. you know so moving into the kind of future of the game, now again we have a new set coming out soon. That is when the ban list will take into effect. So we're gonna have to wait and see what this new set has in store for us to kind of see what's going to be the thing. What's Are we gonna have new stuff? Are there gonna be new top dogs? Or are we going to be working with what may be the new top of the game? And so what are we looking at here? Boy howdy, a deck no one's excited to play against. So right off the bat, this exists. And I think it's hard. Again, we're going to see what the new set can bring. I think it's hard not to say, at least looking at your first events going into this ban list effect and the competitive season, expect to see this. I think you just should absolutely expect to see this pile of cards hitting the table, especially early on. We're going to be seeing a lot of knights. Now, on top of knights, what else do we have? Well, we have warriors. I don't know how I feel about Tybus yet. I think I've seen some people being like, "Why didn't we ban Tybus?" And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. I'll admit I love warriors. Uh, so might be a little bit of bias, but I don't know. I'm not sure if he's there yet. But he might be. But I think yet again, this deck specifically, any variant, I think. So you're looking at the fire ice, the fire water variant, and I think the fire ice variant really especially propped up by having like Sid Waff and being able and Seymour and assisting you in dealing with decks like Warriors of Light, where you had the water fire version, which I like better as a version because of the value it generates, but it did worse into decks like Refia and monsters. I think Warriors did atrocious into monsters. I had a horrible time playing against monsters with Water Fire Warriors. Those bad matchups are gone. So this Warriors kind of just feels like it goes unchecked now, which is like kind of scary. So top dog number 2, some flavor of Tybus deck. So what's top dog number 3? Well, I do not know how this deck got away unscathed. I don't know how this card or this card got away unscathed. This deck has already been just like gaining traction at an exponential level, and it's just unchecked again. Another deck that is just free to go about its day. Um, and I think I just showed you what will be the day early meta. These three decks, I would not be surprised if like first event of the season, this was like over half of what we see topping events. Um, it's just they're aggressive. Aggro does good early in metas, and they are just solved decks that are just consistently performing, and they're long-standing decks. Decks that there's a lot of people that have a lot of play time. That's part of the thing with like Refia or even monsters is um, even if it was starting to come down, because I do think that at least Refia was starting to come down. I think it was starting to, I think it might have started to start coming out of the meta. One or two more sets of if they can hold off on printing a Warrior Light for one set, I think it starts to find its way naturally flowing out of the meta. But you have so much old knowledge, so much comfortability with it because it's been top dog for so long. And that's where these decks are going to sit. These are decks that I think people have been piloting for a long time and have the comfort level in them. So definitely, I think these are like three of the most obvious decks. It would be interesting to see other things like Mono Ice is something I think to watch out for. Sky Pirates, or just like different variations of Category 12 in general, I think also are up there as keep an eye on this. But yeah, we're gonna have to see what our new set brings. We have a couple more weeks of it, but yeah, let me know what you think of the bans. Are you excited to see what the new format brings? Are you kind of disappointed to see some of these cards go? Yeah, let me know what you think down below, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.